Hey, welcome into a brand new episode of the Foul Pole to Foul Pole podcast. I'm your host, Coach Tyler from Black Diamond Softball and Fitness. Today, my guest is Chloe Evans from the University of Central Florida. She's one heck of an outfielder, and she's an absolute beast at the plate. Chloe, I appreciate you joining me. Let's jump right in. What's it like right now leaning into the season? We're just about a week and a half or so away. I mean, how much are you feeling this?
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think it's, become a great feeling that I am a senior, and I think it's become a surreal emotion for me just because I think it's been such a long journey, and I think it's I'm getting to the point where I'm excited that it's coming, but I'm getting sad, but I think it's just I'm ready for this last go around, and I feel like there's nothing in me that isn't going to leave it all on the line. So I think that's why I'm super excited for this year, because I know that the best way to go about this year is to have no regrets and just go for everything I'm able to.
Yeah. Last year, you guys, made a run at it. Had a great year. You personally and as a team. Talk to me a little bit about how it went last year and what you're looking forward to bringing from last year into this season.
Yeah, so last year was obviously my first season with UCF. Going in as a junior, I had a pretty confident year after my sophomore year at Minnesota. And then, hitting the portal, I came in with two other pretty big transfers, our shortstop, Jazz Williams, and then, our pitcher of the year, Sarah Willis. I think those were really big moments for the team. And I think that we brought a lot of, different aspects to the team. But I think that, all of us combined as a team, we had a really strong year. But I think that there was just, a little bit of things we were missing. I think that, coming into this year, we have almost every single starter from last year is returning. We have 11 seniors in total, so we're a very old and experienced team, and I think that's going to be really good for us in the long run. We're just all looking forward to this year, and I think that tells you how much we have to play for, just knowing that this is 11 of our last years, and 11 of us are here for the last time, and I think that's motivating. And I feel like if I was an underclassman, that would be super motivating to want to go as far as I can for the older classmen. So I hope that's kind of what boat they're in.
Yeah. As a senior and as sort of a de facto leader, because like you said, there's 11 of you guys. What are you looking for to get out of this year, aside from wins and losses? What are you looking for this year to sort of carry that UCF tradition?
Honestly, I think the biggest part about our team is the culture, and I hope that we are able to remain consistent with the way we act all the year and keep those core values in mind at all given points in time. And I think that's what we really try and preach is, really what it takes to be a knight. And I think that's super important. And I hope that when we leave here, something that we always say is leave it better than you found it. And I hope that when I leave here, it's something I hope that people want to, beat some of those records that I've made, beat the records that are previously there. A lot of us leave who have, had some pretty big records. So I think it's something to really look forward to see what the girls behind me have to offer. And I mean, our freshman class is something that's going to be great. And I know that it may not fully happen this year for every single one of them, but I know that, the next 3 years after this, or 4 years, if they decide to redshirt, I know it's going to be great because I see what they do every single day. So, I mean, I'm excited for the program after this year, but also very excited to see what they can contribute to this year.
Yeah. You brought up the word culture, and culture is one of those words that kind of is synonymous with softball. And it doesn't matter if we're talking high school ball, if we're talking collegiate ball, professional ball, or even travel ball. And when you started playing and got serious about it, just being a part of a team and that culture kind of it gives you somewhere to be yourself, and you have these people that are around you that are bought into the same thing. So take me back to when you first started playing and you sort of fell in love with it and fell in love with the culture.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think even from a young age, I always just I loved the atmosphere that softball brings. And I think that it takes a really strong person to be able to play this sport. Obviously, it's, a big game of failure. But I think even from a young age, I've played on multiple travel ball teams. And I think that each culture was different. And I think I loved that about each one of my teams. One of the main teams that I played for was a small team out of Wisconsin, but we showed up to tournaments and we were ready to fight. We were ready to play it was just a bunch of girls that, we all kind of just strung together, and we all like loved each other. We all were so competitive. It was like we wanted to be that team that was like we walked up and everybody was like, "Oh, great. Like we get to play this team." But I also was on teams like when I was a younger age that it was like we were dominant, and I mean, I loved that growing up. Like I loved just absolutely winning. And I mean, now in college, I think like through my process when I entered the portal, the thing I wanted the most was a good culture. And I think that, looking back on what I've enjoyed about my teammates, from all of the years prior, like I was looking for a team who wanted to, be a part of my life for the rest of my life. And I think that like my travel ball teammates are those girls. And I think that that's really what I was looking for in my new home was people that I could, keep for the rest of my life. And I think that's really what I found at UCF. And I've made some of my closest friends here, so that's really what I'm grateful for about coming here.
Okay. You know, UCF, can't remember a time that we weren't paying attention to and talking about UCF as a contender year in and year out. It seems like more and more people are starting to pay attention to UCF. It's you hear about the Alabamas and the UCLA's and these other teams, Florida, stuff like that. But there's a lot of good teams in the state of Florida. I mean, I don't put any of them above in what UCF has been able to do over the past couple of years. How does it feel to you to represent the Knights? Because there is a Florida State, there is a Florida that's there. I mean, it's kind of. I'm sure there's talk about like that y'all might be like the little sibling or something like that. Kind of talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, I just think that, coming down to Florida, like I'm not originally from here, so I guess I didn't really know a whole lot about like all the Florida schools. I'm a Midwest kid, so like growing up in Wisconsin, I didn't really know a whole lot about like Florida. Obviously, you know about just like the main universities, but when I got here, like it just felt like everyone kind of talks about us as like the underdog. And it's like we had our rival against USF when we were in the American. And like obviously that was pretty big because, they basically called us, just like the team up the road. And it's just like it's crazy to like hear things like that just because there are so many schools in this state and there's so much competition. And I mean, now as like a player and working camps down here for UCF, like there are some good softball players in the state of Florida. And I mean, having them come to like our camps and like going to other things, seeing people play, like, I mean, there's a lot of like, I understand why it's like hard for some girls to be like, oh, like FSU's my favorite school, US my favorite school. And then there's the girls that are like, well, UCF's my favorite school. And I'm like, yeah, that's a tough, it's a tough decision to be like, which one's your favorite? Just
Right.
because all the programs are so competitive. And I just think that like, softball's really blossoming here, and I think that that's like great for, the softball community.
Yeah. You've had the opportunity and the privilege to play at two Division I schools, and when we're talking about recruiting and stuff, and we see different things, we hear about D1 this and D1 that. There's this D1 or bust mentality that's out there. Can you kind of speak on the talent level from D1 to D2 to D3, how that has shrank as far as the gap between softball players? And is that due to the popularity? Is that due to the growth of the game? Like, there are teams that you guys would go play against. And if we didn't know as a D or a D3 school or a JUCO or a D2 school, whatever, we wouldn't be able to tell it just by looking at it.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that the game has like grown so much, and I think a main thing is like the exposure. And I think that that's, it matters where you play, where you grow up, who you play for. And I think that truly is like a big thing. Like the name of your team sometimes does matter. And I think that those are, the teams that coaches go watch. And I think like a lot like in Minnesota especially, we played teams that were like, bigger D2 schools, and like they were good teams, and like they're not here to just like mess around. Like they want to beat you. And I think that there's just the difference I feel like sometimes is just the raw talent that you get from those girls that are like D2, D3, JUCO. All of those girls, like they're just there to play because they love the game so much. And I think that when you talk about the like D1 or bust mentality, I think it's just like sometimes people who are D1 get complacent. And I think that in those other levels, there is no room for complacency because, you just have so much love for the game, and you like, if you're working towards going somewhere bigger, I feel like that's like that's then your main goal is just like, working your butt off, doing the best you can at the level that you're at
Mhm.
until you're able to hopefully like move up to the next level. And I think like I really think it's just like the raw street talent that some of those girls just have. Like they're just going up because they love the game and they just have so much talent that they just want to like keep playing and, show the love for the game.
Yeah. You did transfer from Minnesota to UCF, and so you were able to take advantage of the transfer portal. Um, Take me through that transition between making that decision and because it's the best decision for you. And like we had talked about before we started recording this, that there's no ill will, there's no ill feelings or anything like that. It's just a decision that you made, and here we are.
Yeah, honestly, I think that there was just a part of me that felt like I wasn't truly in the right place for me. And I think that was kind of tough because Minnesota was very close to home for me, obviously. Wisconsin and like my hometown's only about 4.5 hours from there. So it's very drivable distance for all my family, almost all my relatives. Like it wasn't, I'm not going to say it was convenient, but for them, it was like very convenient to come see me, come watch me play, things like that. And like, I would be able to like go home if like need be very easily. And I just think that like at the end of the day, I felt like something was like missing with me being there. And I think like I was in kind of, just like a mentally low place when I was there. And I think it was just, I was kind of falling out of love for the game. And that was kind of like the hardest part for me. When I had kind of decided going into my sophomore year that I would give it like one more try, just because obviously as a freshman, everyone thinks they're going to play. And I was like, well, I'm going to work my butt off and, hope I get the opportunities that I do. And I was given those. And I just felt like, if I could go into my sophomore year and have a great year, I was like, well, if the portal is what needs to happen, then that's what needed to happen. And I just like, I let myself, give it my all my sophomore year. And it paid off for me. I played pretty well. Got second team all Big Ten. So that was a pretty big deal. I was pretty happy about that. But, when the opportunity came and I entered the portal, I actually came down to Florida to play in the Florida Gulf Coast League. And that honestly grew my love for the game again. And I think that like at that point, I was going to be happy no matter where I was going because I knew that I loved the game again and that I was able to, like spread that love from not just me, but being able to like openly talk about how it was feeling about the game and just things like that from after playing in that. So I was just happy I found UCF.
Yeah. I mean, and as soon as you get to UCF, I mean, daggone, immediate contributions. Yeah, you could almost tell that like this was home for you because it just watching you on the field, it just seems like, hey, this is where you're
Yeah.
blossoming because you had this confidence or there's something about you that just, I mean, we can go back and look at some of the stats and stuff you had. I mean, you were a leader not just on the field in the clubhouse and in the dugout, but as far as producing too. Take me through that a little bit about getting there and going, oh man, once this push comes to shove here, now I've got to produce and feel that. Tell me about that pressure that you had.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I knew that like whatever I was going to do during the game, I knew that, the person in front of me and the person behind me were going to do their very best to, do what they could do. And I felt like that gave me so much confidence, knowing that they're going to go up to bat, they're going to try their hardest. They're not just going to like show up because they had to be there.
Mhm.
I felt like people genuinely want to be here. Like my teammates want to be here. We want to succeed and we want to see everyone else on the team succeed. And I think that's like the best feeling in the world is knowing that like someone could be standing on second base and they're not feeling like you're not going to succeed. And that's like, that really just like brings you up is when you're up to bat, you can hear everyone cheering for you. Like people, if the atmosphere at UCF is so much more than I could have imagined. I played here my sophomore year and I was like, wow, I love it. But I got here and it was like 20 times better when you're obviously on the actual team that
Yeah.
you're playing at. But like I just feel like all around everyone has so much confidence in you. It just doesn't feel like there's someone that's like that like thinks you're gonna mess up or thinks you're gonna fail. Like it just feels like everyone wants you to succeed, and that's so much easier to be confident in yourself and your
Mm.
skills.
I mean, speaking of confidence, you had a couple of walk-offs last year. I think one was against Boise State. I think the other one was maybe the eighth inning against South Florida.
Yep.
I know the one against Boise State was a home run, a little oppo to left. I mean,
Yeah.
watching you around the bases. I mean, how cool is that feeling, knowing that you're eventually going to get back around to that plate and your team is right there for you?
I mean, that might have been one of the best moments I've had so far in college, just because like we were winning for so much of that game, and then they decided to come back, and I was like, wow, it's already so late. Like we gotta win this game. There's no going back from this. And seeing all of my teammates like so excited might have been one of the like best moments that I've had, just because my coaches were excited. The people that were still there at 1 in the morning were so excited. Like everyone was just so purely happy in those in that moment. And like it was like it took such like it's such it like took a weight off my shoulders. Like it was like everything I had feared about like the transfer portal and coming here, and like knowing that people thought that I was going to be this like type of person, it just like
Mhm.
made me feel confident that that's like who I could be, just like I was in Minnesota. Like being here, I just knew I could be myself, and I was going to give it my all for the people that are around me. And those moments like really paid off. The USF one was also huge. Obviously they were our rival. That was a school that I was kind of looking at to transfer to. So it was kind of something crazy. Like I was not expecting that to happen, but it did.
I've talked to some professional athletes and some collegiate athletes, and ask them about the nerves and about sort of like the butterflies and stuff. Do the
Mhm.
nerves and the butterflies ever go away? And do you use those to be able to perform in those big moments?
Honestly, when I'm like standing on the sideline, like listening to the national anthem, I think that's when they really start to kick in. It's like, wow, I'm really about to play another game in front of a whole bunch of people on TV. Like so many people are going to be watching. But honestly, I think the nerves do kind of go away. It's like it's kind of like a good feeling though. I feel like one thing that I like try to remember is that like fear is never going to win. Like fear cannot overcome you. And I think that being able to push the fear aside and be way more confident than fearful is the best way to, succeed in this sport. And I feel like if I'm being told to do one thing, failing the way that I'm being told is way better than, failing not trying and giving my best. So I think like sometimes standing in the outfield, I get really nervous because there's a lot of people out there sometimes at UCF, and I just gotta let it all go. I just gotta take a deep breath. I get a little nervous sometimes, but it's okay. I just gotta move past all that.
Man, there's no better place in the world to be standing out there in the outfield looking back at the stands with everybody right there, is there?
Yeah, no, it's actually crazy. It's so cool that people like literally stand in the outfield with me. Like people are always trying to have a conversation. They're always saying things. Little kids are out there yelling my name. I'm like, wow, I'm not lonely in the outfield. It doesn't have to just be the catchers that hear all these good things.
You talking about the national anthem. I was lucky enough to be in the Marine Corps for 10 years, from 2002 to 2012. And it doesn't matter how many times I hear the national anthem, there's something about it that is, for me, it's the greatest hype song there is. Like everybody has their AirPods in and doing their thing, whatever, getting their hype music. But when I hear the national anthem, I even got cold chills right now. If I hear it, it just does something to me. It gets me more pumped up than anything. And even back when I was playing sports years ago, it's just something about the national anthem.
It's really just like a moment. I feel like that just like it sets the tone. I feel like I get up there and I'm like, it's time to have a good day. And it just like really feels good in your heart to just like be standing there and just like being ready for that game. It's like I agree. It really is the best type of song.
We talk about the future of the game. We talk about the popularity of the game, and the sport is on TV like crazy. I mean, this time of year, like everybody's waiting for it. How can I watch it? Like whether it's the tournament down at St. Pete or if it's the Mary Nutter or wherever. Before we actually get into the conference games and stuff like that, where we can watch it on the networks and stuff. Why do you think the game has gotten so popular? Maybe over the last 5 to 10 years, is it because it's on TV, or it's because social media, or is it a combination?
I feel like probably a combination. I think that one thing about our game is that like women have gotten so much stronger, and like just the pitching, the hitting, the fielding, everything is so dominant. And
Mhm.
like I think that people like genuinely enjoy seeing like what we can do. Like I think that honestly, like with Oklahoma too, like them being, just like a powerhouse team and them coming up, obviously they've been, on the come up all these last few years. But like you talk about those, obviously like the Alabamas, the UCLA's, like those are like dominant pitching, dominant defense teams, and then they have like their hitters. But I think that like the hitting is something that people are like, I
Yeah.
feel like people genuinely like to watch us hit. And like pitchers are now pitching like 73, 75, like they're humming the ball. And I think that people just like they didn't really expect that. And I think that just the way that we're developing and being able to grow the game, through social media. And I think like the fact that a lot of softball players are on social media from all over the country, like almost all colleges. I feel like at least one girl is out there making TikToks about their team. And I feel like it's just like there's so much relatability from
Mhm.
growing up and being able to post things about growing up and travel ball and talking about now being in college. I feel like that like helps those like younger athletes like see what we actually do. And I feel like they genuinely enjoy being able to see what I'm doing and then being able to watch me on TV and being like, well, I know her a little bit better than just like not knowing her at all. I think that that's definitely helped out a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I think the fan base has grown because you guys, we can reach out and touch you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like we have you there. Like it used to just be camps, and there would be a couple of games on TV and stuff, of that nature. But now it's just like we see you make some, incredible play or something, and then we can search you up, and we can find your name and stuff like that. We can look on Facebook, we can check you out, on TikTok or wherever, and it's like, oh, okay, wow, she's got a dog, or she's from, and it gives us that piece where it's like you're tangible now. Like we can be a part of your journey. Like we feel like we're like with you, like it's LeBron James or Michael Jordan or someone like that. And I absolutely love it for the game. Um, I don't think there's any better advocates for sports in
Mhm.
any other sports around other than softball athletes. I mean, the going to working at camps, and like you said, you work the camps at UCF. You're able to help young kids, and kind of they're able to be able to see their idols and be able to play alongside you and get that tutelage from you guys. I mean, and you reverse that, and then you're giving back to the sport because years ago that was you, right? And so now you guys are the pioneers from the sport, and it seems like there's been a lot of pioneers, as far as the game of softball is concerned. How does that make you feel that you're someone that people look up to and they want to be just like you? And someday there's going to be like, I was watching Chloe back when she was at UCF, and then now here I am at UCF.
Yeah, I think it's just super awesome to know that like we've been able to grow a platform where like younger generations can like feel like they can relate to us and feel like they want to be, a part of our lives and like
Mhm.
see what we do every day. And I think just like the the way that like since I'm from Wisconsin, I think that I hope that I'm giving those younger generation girls in Wisconsin and in the Midwest and some of those smaller states, up north that don't always have as much softball. I hope that like it's giving them hope that like anything can happen. And I think that it's like I hope that they know that like working hard and like putting yourself out there, like that's going to be able to help you get to the next level, even if it's not just like in those states, but it can be anywhere. And I think like knowing that there are more girls like from Wisconsin going to different places. We have a recruit from Wisconsin coming here within the next few years. And I think like that's just like huge to know that I go home, I go to football games, people like are like, I know who you are. Like that's something that's so cool. I would have never imagined that a little girl would come up to me at a football game and know exactly who I am. Like it's something that's so crazy, but like I've learned to love it so much just because that's like not everybody gets that. And I think that's like something really special. And I'm glad that like I've been able to make an impact on the younger generation.
You are a role model. And speaking of role models, who did you look up to when you were younger? And it's just like, wow, I like her.
Yeah, honestly, when I was like quite younger, I caught for Megan Kleist, who, she first went to Oregon and
Mhm.
then went to Louisiana Lafayette. And I feel like that was someone who obviously I knew played college softball, but I wasn't always like super like I didn't really know that I wanted to play college and softball really until I was like literally a junior in high school. Like I had no idea. I didn't really think about it, and I didn't really know if it was like a reality. And then I feel like just watching the game. I think that like not really necessarily just like a few specific people, but just like overall, like watching like
Mhm.
how good the girls were at the World Series. And I know that that was really the only games that were necessarily on TV. Like a few years ago. And like, I think that that's really when I started watching, was when I noticed that it was on TV. And I mean, that's kind of what also grew my love and like wanting to be on TV one day. So because I thought that was just like amazing that I saw that.
Yeah. The game is so much faster than baseball, and I think that leads to a lot of the popularity from people that maybe didn't watch softball, and then now they catch it on TV and like, holy cow, we can watch a 7 inning game in like an hour and a half,
Mhm.
and everything is so much faster. We're talking 60-foot bases, we're talking 43-foot mounds, everything is just fast, and I think that that's what draws people's attention to it. And then of course you have the long ball. I mean, we're talking 200-foot fences here. At
Mhm.
some point, I think something needs to be done because, like you said, there is bigger, faster, stronger athletes, and you guys are just jacking the ball out of the yard all the time. I asked Michelle Smith this same question, and we were talking about what is that next step of maybe doing something about so much long ball. Is there something about moving the fences back or raising the fences or whatever you can do? And I think the easiest thing, and this is my opinion, I would love to get yours. A, do you think there's too much long ball? And then B, what could what could we do for the sport to, especially for college, to to keep the ball in the yard a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, specifically at UCF, obviously, they had just gotten a new fence, I think like 2, 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice, obviously center field's like quite tall. I think it's like 15 feet tall. And then the rest of it's probably like 8 or 9 feet tall. And so like I think that keeps the ball in the yard quite a bit more. Like I know personally I hit like 5, 6 balls off the top of the wall last year. And I mean, it's frustrating for me, but like I know we do it for the pitchers, but I think like that is something that, having a taller wall, it is harder to hit a home run. It is harder to get the ball out. But honestly, I think that like the amount of like home runs that are being hit right now, I think that it's great. Like both sides. Like, I mean, it sucks when you're on defense, but like I think just like, girls hitting, no more than like 20 home runs. Like I think that's a lot. Like I've
Yeah,
never hit that many, but like hitting 20 home runs is still like really impressive in our sport. And I feel like it's at like a good amount where it's not like someone's hitting a home run every single time they come up to bat. But
right.
I think it's at a good base right now. But obviously, like I said, with people developing, with the sport developing, pitchers developing, I think it might obviously go further or need to be changed. But I feel like for now, I mean, I think it's in a pretty good spot. But yeah, obviously making the higher fences is something that, keeps the ball in the yard a little bit more.
Yeah, there hasn't been a major change in the rules and in the sport since probably 1988, back when they went from pitching from 40 feet to 43.
Mhm.
I know that there's two different sides of it. It's like, okay, from 40 feet, the pitcher has, the advantage because it's closer and they can throw it harder. Well,
Mhm.
from 40 feet, the ball doesn't break a whole lot. Now
Yeah.
you back them up that extra 3 feet, and the ball is able to move all over the place, but the hitter has more time to react. So I think it kind of helped both in even the playing field a little bit more. Mike Andrea was talking about that now that when it happened, this is, man, 40 years ago almost, that it sort of evened the game up. But now, you can see the pitchers are able to work that ball. How
Mhm.
hard is it to hit a rise ball?
Personally, I have a super flat swing, so I love to hit rise balls, but they are tough. Girls that really can command their rise ball are crazy. Like people that really can make that ball jump, they've got something going on. And the girls that can make it jump and they're pitching fast, like you just got to swing over your head and hope for the best.
Speaking of pitchers and stuff, who is your favorite pitcher to go against? Not someone that you have a crazy amount of success against, but it's just like my best against your best. You like the battle.
Yeah, I mean, she's gonna laugh about this, but probably Alex Storako. And I only say she's gonna laugh about this because we ended up being teammates in the Florida Gulf Coast League. And then obviously I didn't get to face her last year, but obviously playing her at Michigan, I did. And she struck me out a handful of times. I hit a home run off her. So I was like, it's a pretty fair playing field at this point. But she's just so competitive. And I know that her ball moves. She's got good speed. Like she's ready to just like attack. And she just like she's a good pitcher. And I mean, I love facing good pitchers. It's just like it's such a good feeling to know that like their stuff is great, but like you just gotta be better. and
Yeah.
I like love that mentality.
Yeah, I think, man, it's gotten to the point now where you don't see too many pitchers going through the lineup 3 and 4 times like years past. Now you have almost like baseball to where you have your starters that can get a few, and then about that second time through, they're bringing in another pitcher, changing up. Maybe there's a setup, maybe there's a specialist, and then there's type of closer. Talk to me a little bit about that transition that you see a lot of teams are going to now. They really are using a bullpen or using sort of a set of pitchers versus just having one or two aces and hey, we're just going to ride them, all 60 games.
Yeah, I mean, from experience, we have 9 pitchers, and like you put one in, and then you put another in. It's like you're getting so much like change of speed, change of direction, change of plane, and I think it's like it's tough. It's tough to be, just like throwing in different pitchers, and it's about like quick adjustments. I mean, the elite teams are gonna know how to make those very quick adjustments and just being okay with failing at those adjustments. Like you're throwing in a rise ball girl that's pitching like maybe max 60, and then you put in a drop ball girl that's pitching 70, and like you just have to be able to flip a switch so fast and know that like you can't keep doing what you were doing. And I think that it's crazy that like you can throw in so many different pitchers. You can throw in a pitcher like, like our pitcher Sarah Willis, she's got a 45-mile-an-hour changeup, like, but then her fastball is like 73 miles an hour. And if you put in a girl right after her that's, a lefty throwing, just curveballs at you. Like it's just such a different world when you have one at bat against someone. And if you're unsuccessful, you have to move on because you're seeing a new pitcher sometimes. Like it's just like you don't have that ability to, like make an adjustment against that next girl. Like you have to, really flip a switch and you're going on to the next girl. So I think it's like I definitely understand how that can be difficult. And it's an advantage to the game now with how many pitchers there are.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be ready. I mean, colleges now have bigger rosters, and it creates that competitive atmosphere. It allows for the younger ones that maybe aren't ready for that moment yet, maybe coming off of an injury, whatever they've got working on, they're not being pressured into something that they're not ready to handle yet. And sometimes it is, but having these bigger rosters and having creating that competition within the team helps, and it builds this family. Like, hey, we're all fighting for the same thing, and someday I'm not going to have my best, but you're there to pick me up. Talk a little bit about having such a big roster, but everyone pulling in the same direction, and we're sisters here. We're fighting for the same thing.
Yeah, I think that, having a bigger roster, like you've got 2, 3 girls at each position. And I think that that honestly makes a team so much better because if you have someone on your tail, like pushing you every day to be better, like that's going to make the team overall just so much better. Like you've got these younger girls coming in. And I mean, even if you were someone that was starting and, the younger girl comes in like in front of you and might be like a hair better, it's going to make you better because you're pushing, to get your spot back, to win that spot. Like, I just think that the bigger rosters are also like it's very easy to like have people in like specific roles and like have them know their roles. Like you've got base runners, you've got pinch hitters, you've got girls that are going to just be thrown in on defense. Like you've got all the pitching. And I think it's just like a big thing about having a big roster is knowing your role. And I think
Mhm.
like buying into what role you're given is going to be the best way to be successful. And, always hoping that the person in front of you is still succeeding and never failing because that's not going to help the team in any way.
Yeah, I spoke about that on a previous podcast about sort of earning that spot by taking it away from someone instead of someone failing and then it kind of just falling into your lap. I mean, no one wants to win that job. And having a team with a good culture, it kind of pushes everybody. And if you end up taking that spot, you take that spot, but it's not something that you did maliciously or something like that, or these girls were failing or having the yips or whatever. So I just love talking about the college game. And again, I'm so glad you came on here. What are you looking forward to getting started like right now? Like, can I don't know. What do we said the February 8th? Like, are you looking forward to that first pitch? Are you looking forward to that first trip in the bus? Like, what are you looking forward to? Like the number one thing, like right now, I cannot wait until it happens.
I honestly cannot wait for my first at bat. Like I can't wait to just like because we've been pacing our own pitchers for so long. Like we've been seeing, what they've got, but I'm excited to just be able to like go up against somebody who I don't necessarily know or haven't seen before, and just like be able to put my best game against their best game. And I think that, first game out, everybody's going to be just straight ahead and everybody's going to want to win. So I think, that first game, the first at bat, when I get to go up to bat, after defense, like I'm going to be so excited, but I gotta, calm myself down before I go up to bat.
What are you personally taking from your experiences from last year into this season that maybe you learned last year that you're going to be able to help, be successful this year?
Yeah, I think just, continuing to learn how to be, like a little bit less selfish. I think especially being like a 3, 4, 5 hitter, I think it's really like you really have to remember that like it's not always about your at bat, but it's about scoring those runs that are in front of you. And I think that, last year I had some success, but I think that I got to learn how to, continue to fail on that like harder end of scoring those runs and, taking maybe a hit away from me, but getting 2, 3 RBIs. Like, I think it's just those are going to be big things for this team. And, making sure that I'm at my best and doing what the team needs me to do is going to be the best for us.
Yeah. You drove in 49 runs last year. Are you going to be able to top that this year?
That's the goal.
Yeah. Hey, last year, I mean, a lot of success, and this year, I cannot wait to see you on the ball field, and just now that we've had a chance to talk, and for the people to kind of get to know you, it's been a lot of fun, kind of getting your perspective on things. If there was one girl that was listening to this and she was listening to word for word, what's a piece of advice you would give her as she was going through her recruiting journey and trying to figure out where she was going to land?
Yeah, I think my biggest piece of advice is just to remember that, like, I would just say to never give up on like your recruiting process because mine happened very late. And I think that that's kind of what people don't necessarily understand. And they just kind of want to like give up because girls are getting those calls September 1st. But, everyone's different. And a coach could see you, in between your junior and senior year, and you could get in the best opportunity possible. You could be in the place you need to be. But I think also, with your recruiting journey, I think it's about finding the culture, finding the people that care about you, and putting, athlete and student, making sure that those are two separate things, but also remembering that you are also a person and that you need to remember that you need to be happy, find a place that you can be happy. I think that something that when I walked onto campus, I knew that this is exactly where I needed to be. Everybody told me, when you know, and as soon as I stepped on campus, I knew. And it was like the weirdest feeling, but I genuinely knew that this is where I was supposed to be. And I think, it's just the never giving up and always going forward, doing your best. And I think, putting your best foot forward, hoping that everything works out in your favor, that you just got to keep going.
Yeah, that is some great advice. Before we get out of here, I got to ask you a few questions to kind of get your personality for these girls. So, what is in your earpod or earbuds that you're listening to, maybe in a workout or pregame? What is something that's your go-to music?
Oh, I'm honestly not a big pregame music person, but if I was like working out, I'm a big country gal. I like to
Mhm.
listen to a lot of country music before like during workouts, stuff like that. I've gotten more into like, the R&B now that I'm down in Florida, but country is definitely my go-to.
Do you have something that you like to listen to, something that you like to watch on TV, or sort of wind down when you're just trying to take your me time?
Oh, I love to just throw on a good Grey's Anatomy episode. That or Chicago Fire. Chicago Fires, I've watched that since I was like literally 11 years old and I still put it on to this day. It's just like a good show to just throw on and listen to.
What's your pregame meal? What's your go-to?
Ooh, a good pregame meal. I love just like a good, oh man, like Panda Express. It's really random, but I love just like rice and like
Yeah,
some chicken. Just get a little protein in before a game. I'm not huge into eating a whole bunch of food, but it's just it always, just hits the spot good.
right. Are you a coffee gal? Are you monsters? Are you Red Bulls? Are you energy drinks?
Oh, I'm not really big into any of it, to be honest. I don't really drink a whole lot of Starbucks,
Mhm.
but sometimes I'll get a Frappuccino here and there, just throw
Yeah,
it in just in case I'm feeling it.
yeah. Are you McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's for sure.
Well, I know. We've been on here just a little bit, and I want to thank you again for joining me today. It's one of those things, man, when girls get to hear these college athletes talk and get to know them and be like, look, mom, I'm just like her. I want to wear my hair just like her. Or look at what she's wearing today and stuff. It really means a lot to these girls. They may only be 7, 8 years old, 10, 12 years old, or something like that. But just getting to know you and having the opportunity to kind of ask you these questions today, I feel like I've gotten to know you, and I'm even more of a fan of yours now. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate coming on here.
All right, man, a lot of fun catching up with Chloe. A great episode. She really gave us a lot of stuff. If you like this type of stuff, man, check out this one with RT. There's a lot of good information in that one as well. And as always, if you share this with a friend, be sure you tell them you love them.